Now, in an interview with Russian media, a Daesh terrorist that was captured by Kurdish fighters in northern Syria makes a shocking revelation about Turkey's links with a terrorist group. 20-year-old Abdurrahman Abdulhadi says that he's received training in a camp in Turkey. He also said the area in the city of Adana was disguised as a base for anti-government Syrian militants. Abdulhadi added that the Turkish commanders were among trainers whose teachings were translated for ISIL newcomers. The captured terrorists noted that ISIL leaders set up training camps in Turkey because they believe the country is safer compared to Syria, where there's a risk of being spotted by warplanes. Abdulhadi said that most ISIL members joined terrorist groups to earn a living. And now we're joined more for on this story out of San Francisco by Mr. Scott Bennett, former U.S. Army psychological warfare officer. Sir, more evidence mounts of Ankara's involvement with terrorist organizations. Your thoughts?
Well, it's almost a comedy of errors. Every day more evidence is coming forth indicating that Turkey and the United States and Israel have all been participating in this false war against ISIL, ISIS, IS, whatever you want to call them, for the last year. And the only powers that have been having a significant impact has been Russia, Iran, the Kurds, and the Turkish forces have been funding and training and really committing treason against the American people, violating NATO. I mean, Turkey is supposed to be a NATO country, and yet it is betraying NATO. It is working against the interests of Europeans. It's funneling hundreds of thousands of people into Europe illegally, destabilizing Europe, causing Europe to get closer and closer to a civil war. I think this individual that they've now caught is a gold mine for Iran or Russia to videotape and send to the United States his entire debriefing, because he will share with you the religious underpinnings of the brainwashing that he goes through. He will reveal the sorcery and the drug use. He will reveal a lot of the takfiri religious mystical principles that they are put through that can be used to reverse the PSYOP, that can reverse brainwash them and be used as an offensive psychological warfare campaign. So it's a lot of good material that you can get out of someone like that. But it's also sad because it shows that the Turkish are really liars. The Turks are killing journalists. The Turks have been engaging in shoot downs of Russian planes. So they do not stand with the interests of America or Europe.
You know, critics both inside and outside of Turkey say that Ankara is so blinded by its ambition to overthrow the Syrian, leadership that it's willing to support any and all opposition, including terrorist organizations such as Daesh, and that they're not considering the ramifications of the future of the region with the spread of takfirism and the growth of these kind of groups. Your take on that?
Yeah, it's playing with fire. It's the foolish idea that you can control fire and that you can simply unleash these people like pawns in a chess game, and they're not going to come back and hurt you. That's what the United States did against the Soviet Union in the 1980s with the Afghanistan, again, the Wahhabi Salafist fanatical regime. They're doing the same thing in Syria. Erdogan is the same Wahhabi Salafist type believer as these Muslim Brotherhood Wahhabists who are engaging in the fight in Syria. Erdogan is the same believer. President Assad has said that very clearly, that Erdogan is a fanatic, and his fanaticism is carrying him into the delusional state, I would say, almost of insanity. And the only hope is for a military coup d'etat to remove Erdogan, reposition Turkey as an ally of Russia and Iran, making it the Switzerland of the Middle East, rather than prostituting itself to the American will, which is about as valuable as a piece of paper money in a forest fire. The American loyalty goes only so far, and once you've been used and you've expended your value, the Americans have no use for you. That's what they did to Gaddafi. That's what they did to Saddam Hussein. So they would do the same thing to Turkey. The hope is it can rectify itself and remove Erdogan, remove the Wahhabi Salafist Saudi Arabian Gulf nation maniacy, and also Europe would
Running short on
disentangle
time,
itself.
Mr. Bennett. I want to thank you for your input. As always, it's a pleasure speaking to you, sir. Mr. Scott Bennett, former U.S. Army psychological warfare officer, joining us out of San Francisco in the U.S.